Okay, so don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but get my speed bar. Never flown with a speed bar before, but I think I might. I got it measured and hung with it, hung in the test hang with it in the garage. The thing I don't like is the storing it. I don't have a good way to store it. So I'll have to hook it up, and then I guess I'll tuck that under my bottom or something. I don't know. That's the question. I probably can actually do this. Actually, I may do that. We'll see. We'll see what I figure out. So it's a little bit high wind for me to be kiting. Makes me want to lay out for kind of a cobra style. And if you notice over there on the back of my pickup, I still got the paramotor over there. I decided it was windy enough, conditions weren't great for paramotoring, and I decided just to do some kiting, practice maybe a little bit of cobra inflation, and maybe kite the wing upside down a little bit. See how I did with those. Had a nice grass area and inland winds, a little bit rowdier winds than the beach. But had enough wind here. I don't get that much wind where a cobra is even an option, or at least I don't go out in it much. Got my cobra going, I just can't get it up. Keep on going, baby. What? Let's see, what do I gotta do to get it up? Take some blue pills. Getting the wing to go on up overhead was something that I hadn't quite figured out. I'm still not sure I have, to be honest, in those winds. You know, if it was super strong winds, the times I've been out where it's a lot stronger than this, the wing will just go on up, and you know, you're doing the cobra to kind of manage the energy so it doesn't drag you. But here, where I think I had enough winds, if I'd had the right technique, I assume what I need to do is basically walk out in front of it, maybe pull a little A's on the low side to get the wing to climb on up there. But I just held it with the snake dancing there. And eventually, you'll see I let it back down and tried again a couple times. Eventually, I get around a little bit more in the front so we'd catch a little more energy. And here it almost went, but we'll let it get back down one more time. And anyway, I'll walk around the front a little bit more, and and then she'll take off and get launched. Thing to pay attention to here, I mentioned friction knots in the opener. If you look on the right side of the wing, left part of your picture here, I'm getting the tip folded in a little bit, and if you notice in hindsight, all of my controls I was pulling on the right side, left part of the picture. I was always having to turn it left. What was happening is the wing is always wanting to turn right. Here I'm laying the wing down, and I've already done my cobra such as it was for the evening. Wanted to get the wing turned over and fly it upside down a little bit. It's a good technique to practice shaking out sand or twigs or just debris that gets in the wing. Get it upside down and get those cells on the bottom and kind of shake it a little bit. And still haven't mastered it as well as I would like. But did a pretty good job of cleaning it out there. time to turn the wing back over, get the front side up, sunny side up as it were. So love to do that with the wind instead of disconnected and going out and doing it by hand. So with that accomplished, I'm going to go ahead and pull the wing up a little bit and get it straightened out, and we'll go flying the next day. That's when I went ahead and put the speed brake on for the first time I'd ever flown with it here. If you look in the picture I'm going to get clipped in, I'm going to show the Speedbar lines. What I did was didn't fly it with it connected to the wing on takeoff. I just tied them up to my little chest strap there and kind of wrapped them around. Figured I could use that. It was not a permanent solution, but I thought I'd put them there and they'd be safe. You know, wouldn't let. I was really worried about the Speedbar getting loose, getting into the prop or something. I've got my collection of props that have things that have gotten into them. Thankfully, no Speedbar lines or anything, and that could be pretty nasty. So it's something I was really concerned about. Here I'm going to do my run up, making sure everything's working. See, I'm kind of checking the RPMs, and we'll get her ready to go, and I'll get my first launch there. Thinking about that Speedbar, trying to make sure it doesn't get loose. Right after I launch, one thing to notice is I have to take steps to the left. The wing's doing a little bit of a left turn on me, so I got to step left to get under it, start steering right before I kind of get things lined out and then off to the races. But again, much like when I was kiting the previous day, as I told you, I hadn't realized it, but everything was making the wing was wanting to make a left turn. And right after launch here, if you look up, I think you'll see my trims on the right side slipped to full fast. I mean, that was just a fluke. That's happened once or twice ever. I know I had them on the neutral line when I took off, but the right one slipped and pulled it in, so I started out in a really big left turn. But if you notice, once I pulled it in, got them both to the neutral or the white line, I'm still turning left. Kind of noticing it at this point, but I'm really focused on my Speedbar. You know, just worried about that thing getting in the prop. So decide, okay, I get up, get some altitude, and kind of get to where I want to be, and I start unwrapping my Speedbar here. I'm going to hook up the left one first. Kind of unroll it, doing it real slow and careful like to make sure I don't let anything get loose and get into the prop. And in the middle of it, again, I'm constantly turning to my left, so I'm pulling the right tip steering line, do a little correction. Eventually I'll get this out and get it hooked up. And once again, I'm wanting to head south. The direction I want to head is actually off my right shoulder there, but I've turned more than 90 degrees to the left, so I'm just kind of correcting it. Don't want to go back over the highway there, and so it takes me a lot of time to get the Speedbar up, mainly because of the direction change I was having to constantly deal with. Of course, what I did later on in the flight, once I got my senses and wasn't so worried about the Speedbar, I just adjusted my trims a little bit and realized that, you know, what I saw was to fly straight under kind of a cruise throttle, I had to have maybe 2 inches of difference. I had to have, let's say I pull the right trim full slow. I needed the left trim out past neutral, maybe an inch or so, half an inch, a little bit past neutral. So it's a pretty noticeable difference in where I needed the trims just to fly straight. So something was going on with the wing, or I wasn't sure. Maybe it was because I'd messed with my harness and getting the Speedbar going. I was kind of second guessing, have I got something where I'm weight shifting to one side, you know, just the way the harness is connected, or I hadn't really changed anything. But anyway, I was second guessing it. And come to find out later on, it was a friction knot, which I'll show you here in a moment. We'll go ahead and get the right side speed bar connected. That one I need to fiddle with the routing a little bit more right there at the bottom before I could get it hooked up, but we eventually got it. There, I could finally relax a little bit and start to think about playing with the speed bar. Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot with it. This is the point where I had the speed bar engaged a little bit, and I'm messing with other things, always having to turn right with the tip steering line. But basically, I kind of decided right about here. I said, you know, it accelerates you. It's cool. I've checked that box, but I'm going to put it away and enjoy the rest of my flight. The thing I noticed after that is, you know, that extra set of lines going up up to the wing made it a little more awkward to just where I rest my hands when I go hands off in some of the better conditions. So lots of things. I'm not a fan of the speed bar for my paramotoring flights. I think I've already taken it off, and probably won't be putting it back on again unless situation calls for it, maybe free flying someday or something. Got to where I was enjoying cruising around a little bit, saying hello to the folks that were stopping, taking pictures of us. And shortly after this, you saw I was met up with my buddy James. We didn't launch from the same place, but we met up about halfway. And right about here is where I encountered probably the biggest surge that I've had while flying a paramotor. Checked it, but that one got my attention. There was a fair bit of thermal activity. I noticed one of the roads that I was going over, I think the asphalt was kicking off a big thermal right about there. And it was getting fairly late in the day, but that was the only one I hit. So cruised back, had some fun in my usual haunts. There's the black Jeep that's been parked out near my LZ. He's cruising around with his girlfriend out in some of the fields, and so we'll bring it in for a landing, and I'll give you some of my post-flight thoughts about the speed bar. I'm going to take this off because I've done it and I don't like it. I'm sure I could get used to it. Wouldn't be too much hassle, but I don't really want to. Maybe someday I will. But I want to see if I can get back up before it's too dark. See if I can figure out this, why I'm pulling to the left. So why am I pulling to the left? Bound to be on here. Some glasses. Needed to look around for my hang points and see if I'd done anything to the harness to try and figure out why I was going to the left. If you look at the inset, what it turned out to be was there was a friction knot in my upper unsheathed lines on my wing. Basically on the outside A line, it was basically applying speed bar on the right side all the time. It's maybe 2 inches of length shortening up there because of the knot, and once I took that out, did a little kiting with it, and took it to the beach and did a little flying. All was well. I was happy. I was kind of worried I was having some problem. My lines were going out of trim or something. My wing would need some repairs by some experts, but it was just a matter of finding the knot and getting rid of it. Thanks everybody for coming along. Hope you have a good one.